In this module 3 of chapter 9, we shall discuss on some fundamental results on inner product spaces. The fundamental results are devoted on some basic important theorems, namely ridge representation theorem, projection theorem. Also, we shall discuss on complete orthonormal system. We shall also prove a result that an orthonormal system can be extended to a complete orthonormal system in a Hilbert space capital H. Also, we shall prove some very important inequality and equality, namely Bessel's inequality and Parseval's equality. Also, we shall discuss on infinite series and convergence of its series in an inner product space. We shall now discuss on module 3. The title of module 3 is some fundamental results on inner product spaces. Let us take a theorem. Let x1, x2 dot 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 xn be a set of orthonormal vectors in capital X, where capital X be an inner product space. Then number 1, the function f from Cn to R defined by f of alpha 1 alpha 2 dot dot alpha n is equal to norm of x minus alpha 1 x1 plus alpha 2 x2 plus dot 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 plus alpha n xn, where x belongs to capital X and alpha 1 alpha 2 dot dot alpha n, this is the n tuple, belongs to Cn, attains its absolute minimum value at one and only one point, alpha 1 alpha 2 dot dot alpha n belongs to Cn, where inner product x comma yk equal to alpha k and k equal to 1 to up to n. Number 2, modulus of inner product x comma x1 whole square plus modulus of inner product x comma x2 whole square plus dot 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 plus modulus of inner product x comma xn whole square is less or equals to norm of x square whenever x belongs to capital X. Number 3, limit k tends to infinity of inner product x comma xk is equal to 0. Now proof. Now f of alpha 1 alpha 2 dot dot alpha n equal to norm of x minus sigma k equal to 1 to n alpha k xk. Therefore, f of alpha 1 alpha 2 dot dot alpha n square is equal to norm of x minus sigma k equal to 1 to n alpha k xk whole square is equal to inner product x minus sigma k equal to 1 to n alpha k xk comma x minus sigma k equal to 1 to n alpha k xk, which is again equal to inner product x comma x minus inner product x comma sigma k equal to 1 to n alpha k xk minus inner product sigma k equal to 1 to n alpha k xk comma x plus inner product sigma k equal to 1 to n alpha k xk comma sigma j equal to 1 to n alpha j xj, which is equal to norm of x square minus sigma k equal to 1 to n alpha k bar inner product x comma xk minus sigma k equal to 1 to n alpha k inner product xk comma x plus sigma k equal to 1 to n sigma j equal to 1 to n alpha k alpha j bar inner product xk comma xj, which is equal to norm of x square minus sigma k equal to 1 to n alpha k bar inner product x comma xk minus sigma k equal to 1 to n alpha k inner product x comma xk bar plus sigma k equal to 1 to n modulus of alpha k square equal to norm of x square minus sigma k equal to 1 to n modulus of inner product x comma xk whole square plus sigma k equal to 1 to n modulus of inner product x comma xk whole square minus sigma k equal to 1 to n alpha k bar inner product x comma xk minus sigma k equal to 1 to n alpha k inner product x comma xk bar plus sigma k equal to 1 to n modulus of alpha k square, which is again equals to norm of x square minus sigma k equal to 1 to n modulus of inner product x comma xk whole square plus within the third bracket sigma k equal to 1 to n modulus of inner product x comma xk minus alpha k whole square, which is equation number 1. But f of alpha 1 alpha 2 alpha n whole square is always greater or equals to 0. So, f of alpha 1 comma alpha 2 dot dot alpha n whole square greater or equals to norm of x square minus sigma k equal to 1 to n modulus of inner product x comma xk whole square. Thus, f of alpha 1 alpha 2 dot dot alpha n whole square attains its minimum value whenever norm of x square minus inner product k equal to 1 to n modulus of x comma xk whole square, when inner product x comma xk is equal to alpha k equal to 0 and k equal to 1 to dot dot up to n, that is inner product x comma xk is equal to alpha k, k equal to 1 to and so on. If possible, let F attains the minimum value at beta 1, beta 2, beta n tuples belongs to Cn, where inner product x comma xk is equal to beta k and k equal to 1 to up to n. It is a routine calculation to verify that alpha k equal to beta k whenever k equal to 1 to up to n. So, n tuple alpha 1 alpha 2 dot dot alpha n belonging to Cn is unique, by which F attains minimum value at alpha 1 alpha 2 dot dot alpha n belonging to Cn. These sums have non-negative terms so that they form a monotone increasing sequence. This sequence converges because it is bounded by norm of x square. This is the sequence of the partial sum of an infinite series which thus converges. So, sigma k equal to 1 to infinity modulus of inner product x comma xk whole square is less or equals to norm of x square. This inequality is known as Bessel's inequality. If sigma k equal to 1 to infinity modulus of inner product x comma xk whole square is equal to norm of x square, this equality is known as Parseval's equality. Now, for the proof of 3, we have by 2 sigma k equal to 1 to n modulus of inner product x comma xk whole square less or equals to norm of x square. Therefore, limit n tends to infinity of modulus of inner product x comma xn whole square is equal to 0. This implies limit n tends to infinity modulus of inner product x comma xn equal to 0. This implies limit n tends to infinity inner product x comma xn is equal to 0. Now, we shall introduce an idea that when a subset in a Hilbert space is said to be complete. Also, we shall define when a subset in a Hilbert space is said to be total, and we shall prove some results on complete orthonormal set and a total set. Also, we shall prove some basic fundamental theorems on this Hilbert space. The fundamental theorems are Ridge representation theorem and projection theorem. Also, we shall prove a theorem that in a closed convex subset of a Hilbert space, there is a unique vector of smallest norm. Now, we take a definition that a non-empty set capital A in an inner product space capital X is said to be total if and only if the vector x belongs to capital X is orthogonal to all the vector in capital A is the null vector only. Now, we take another definition that in a inner product space capital X, an orthonormal set A in X is said to be complete if A is a maximal orthonormal set in X. That is, if there does not exist any orthonormal set B in X such that A is within B but A not equal to B. Now, let us take an example. Let x is equal to L2. Take x comma y belongs to capital X, where x equal to xi1, xi2, xi and so on, and y equal to sequence eta 1, eta 2 dot dot eta n and so on. Define an inner product in X by inner product x comma y equal to sigma k equal to 1 to infinity xi k into eta k bar. Let capital A equal to the set E1, E2 dot dot En and so on be an orthonormal set in capital X, where Ei equal to 0, 0, 0, 1, 1 is the ith place, comma 0, 0 and so on. Let x equal to sequence xi1, xi2 dot dot xi comma dot 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 belongs to capital X such that norm of x equal to 1 and x is perpendicular to capital A. So, inner product x comma ei equal to 0 for all I equal to 1 comma 2 and so on. Now, singleton set X union capital A is an orthonormal set and A is a subset of the set X comma E1 dot dot E2 comma dot dot En comma dot dot and so on, as X is equal to sigma I equal to 1 to infinity xi I into Ei. We have inner product x comma ei is equal to xi I, where I equal to 1, 2 and so on, which implies that xi I equal to 0 for all I equal to 1, 2 and so on. So, x equal to 0, 0, dot 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 0, this, that is x is the 0 vector, which is a contradiction because we have assumed that x is a non-zero vector. Hence, capital A is complete. Now, let us take a theorem. Any dense subset of capital A of an inner product space capital X is total. The proof goes below. Let A be a dense subset of capital X, let X belongs to capital X. So, there exists a sequence of elements xn in A such that limit n of xn is equal to x. Let x perpendicular to A. Now, inner product x comma xn goes to x comma x as n tends to infinity by the continuity of inner product. That means, limit n of inner product x comma xn is equal to norm of x square, but inner product x comma xn equal to 0 for all n. So, norm x square equal to 0 imply norm x equal to 0, which implies that x is the 0 vector. Hence, capital A is total. Let us take another theorem. An orthonormal set A in an inner product space capital X is complete if and only if x perpendicular to A implies x is the 0 vector in capital X. The proof looks like this. Let capital A be an orthonormal set in X which is complete. Let x belongs to capital X such that x perpendicular to A, but x is not equal to 0 vector. Let y equal to x by norm of x. So, norm of y equal to 1. Then A union singleton set Y is an orthonormal set in X which contains capital A properly, which is a contradiction to the fact that A is complete, that is A is a maximal orthonormal set. So, X must be equal to 0 vector. Conversely, let x perpendicular to A imply x must be equal to 0 vector. If capital A is not complete, then there exists an orthonormal set B in X such that A is a subset of B and A not equal to B. Let x belongs to B minus A. This implies x belongs to B, but x does not belongs to capital A. As x belongs to capital B, norm of x equal to 1, this implies x not equal to 0 vector, which is again a contradiction. So, A is a maximal orthonormal set and hence capital A is complete. Thus, orthonormal set capital A for x in an inner product space capital X is complete if and only if it is total in capital X. Now, we get a very important theorem. The statement of this theorem is like this: let capital C be a closed convex subset of a Hilbert space capital X, then C contains a unique vector of smallest norm. The proof looks like this. Let D equal to infimum of norm of X. Infimum is taken for all elements X taken from capital C. So, D is greater or equals to 0. Let Xn be a sequence in capital C such that limit n tends to infinity of norm of xn equal to d. Now, xn comma xm belongs to C. As C is convex, xn plus xm by 2 belongs to capital C. So, norm of xn plus xm by 2 is greater or equals to d by the infimum property. This implies that norm of xn plus xm greater or equals to 2d. Now, norm of xn minus xm square plus norm of xn plus xm square is equal to 2 into norm of xn square plus norm of xm square by parallelogram law, which implies that norm of xn minus xm square equal to 2 into norm of xn square plus norm of xm square minus norm of xn plus xm square, which is less or equals to 2 into norm of xm square plus 2 into norm of xm square minus 4d square, which goes to 2d square plus 2d square minus 4d square, which is equal to 0 as n comma m tends to infinity. So, sequence xn is a Cauchy sequence in C, and since C is complete, as C is a closed subset of X, X is a Hilbert space. So, xn converges to X as n tends to infinity, but X belongs to C as C is closed. So, norm of x equal to limit n tends to infinity of norm of xn equal to d. So, x belongs to C is a vector having the smallest norm. Let x dash which is not equal to x be another vector in capital C such that norm of x dash equal to d. Again, by parallelogram law, we see that norm of x minus x dash whole square equal to 2 into norm of x square plus norm of x dash square minus norm of x plus x dash square. As C is convex, x plus x dash by 2 belongs to capital C, and norm of x plus x dash by 2 greater or equals to d by infimum property. So, norm of x plus x dash greater or equals to 2d, which implies that norm of x plus x dash square greater or equals to 4d square. So, norm of x minus x dash square equal to 2 into norm of x square plus 2 into norm of x dash square minus norm of x plus x dash square, which is less or equals to 2d square plus 2d square minus 4d square is equal to 0, implying that x equal to x dashed. We take another theorem, very important theorem, namely known as projection theorem. Let capital L be a closed subspace of a Hilbert space capital H, then every member x belongs to capital H can be expressed uniquely as x equal to y plus z, where y belongs to capital L and z belongs to L perpendicular. The proof looks like this. If x not equal to 0 vector belongs to capital N, then x can be represented as x is equal to x plus 0 vector, where 0 vector belongs to L perpendicular, because L perpendicular is always a subspace. So, the result is clear. If x does not belongs to capital L, then D equal to infimum of norm of x minus A whole square, where infimum is taken all such elements A belonging to capital L, but D is greater than 0. So, there exists a sequence of elements A n taken from L such that limit n tends to infinity of norm of x minus a n whole square is equal to D. Let Dn is equal to norm of x minus a n whole square. Let epsilon greater than 0 be arbitrary. Then for any A belongs to capital L, where A not equal to 0, a n plus epsilon A belongs to capital L, because L is a subspace. So, inner product x minus a n plus epsilon A comma x minus a n plus epsilon A greater or equals to D. This implies inner product x minus a n minus epsilon A comma x minus a n minus epsilon A greater or equals to D, which on simplification we get norm of x minus a n whole square minus epsilon into inner product x minus a n comma A bar minus epsilon bar inner product x minus a n comma A plus modulus of epsilon square into norm of A square greater or equals to D. Put epsilon is equal to inner product x minus a n comma A by norm of A whole square. So, norm of x minus a n whole square minus modulus of inner product x minus a n comma A whole square divided by norm of A square minus modulus of inner product x minus a n comma A whole square divided by norm of A whole square plus modulus of inner product x minus a n comma A whole square divided by norm of A whole to the power 4 into norm of A whole square greater or equals to D. Hence, norm of x minus a n whole square minus modulus of inner product x minus a n comma A whole square divided by norm of A whole square greater or equals to D. That means, modulus of inner product x minus a n comma A whole less or equals to norm of A whole square into norm of x minus a n whole square minus D, which implies that modulus of inner product x minus a n comma A less or equals to norm of A into root over norm of x minus a n whole square minus D, which is equals to norm of A into root over d n minus D. Clearly, equation 3 also holds for A equal to 0. Now, norm of a n minus a m whole square is equal to inner product a n minus a m comma a n minus a m. Now, inner product a n minus a m comma A is equal to inner product a n minus x plus x minus a m comma A just by mutual adjustment of plus x and minus x, which is equal to inner product a n minus x comma A plus inner product x minus a m comma A. This follows by inner product axiom IP3. So, modulus of inner product a n minus a m comma A less or equals to modulus of inner product a n minus x comma A plus modulus of inner product x minus a m comma A. Therefore, modulus of inner product a n minus a m comma A less or equals to modulus of x minus a n comma A plus modulus of inner product x minus a m comma A, which is again less or equals to norm of A into root over d n minus D plus norm of A into root over d m minus D for all A belongs to capital L by equation 3. If in particular A is taken a n minus a m, then norm of a n minus a m whole square less or equals to norm of a n minus a m into root over d n minus D plus root over d m minus D, which goes to 0 as n comma m tends to infinity. This shows that sequence m is a Cauchy sequence in capital L. As capital L is complete, limit n tends to infinity of a n is equal to y, say, but y belongs to capital L. Now, by continuity of an inner product function, we have inner product x minus a n comma y goes to inner product x minus y comma A as n tends to infinity. So, by equation 3 and 4 we have modulus of inner product x minus y comma a equal to 0. Hence, inner product x minus y comma a equal to 0 for all a belongs to capital L. This means x minus y belongs to L perpendicular. Let z equal to x minus y. So, x equal to z plus y, where z belongs to L perpendicular and y belongs to capital L. We shall now show that the representation of x is unique. If possible, let x equal to y dash plus z dash, where y dash belongs to capital L and z dash belongs to L perpendicular. So, y plus z equal to y dash plus z dash, which implies that y minus y dash is equal to z dash minus z. But y minus y dash belongs to capital L and z dash minus z belongs to L perpendicular. So, y minus y dash is equal to 0 vector, which is again equals to z dash minus z, that is y equal to y dash and z equal to z dash, and so the representation of x, that is x is equal to y plus z, is unique. Now, we shall take a very important theorem in function analysis, namely known as Ridge representation theorem. The statement of the Ridge representation theorem looks like this: let capital H be a Hilbert space and let H star be its first conjugate space. Then for every f belongs to H star, there exists a unique z belongs to capital H such that fx is equal to inner product x comma z for all x belongs to capital H, with norm of f is equal to norm of z. The proof looks like this. The case is trivial for 0 functional, f belongs to H star, and for the 0 vector z belongs to capital H. Let f is not a 0 functional on H. Put nf is equal to the collection of all such elements x belongs to H such that fx is equal to 0 is equal to f inverse 0. The set nf is the null space of f. Clearly, nf is a closed subspace of H and nf is a subset of H which is not equal to H. Otherwise, f would be a 0 functional if nf equal to H. Take z0 belongs to nf perpendicular, where z0 is a non-zero vector. Put v equal to fx z0 minus f z0x, where x belongs to capital H. So, f of v is equal to f of fx z0 minus f z0x is equal to fx f z0 minus f z0 into fx, which is equal to 0, showing that v equal to nf. But 0 is equal to inner product v comma z0 is equal to inner product fx z0 minus f z0x comma z0, which on simplification we get fx is equal to f z0 into inner product x comma z0 divided by norm of z0 square is equal to inner product x comma f z0 bar divided by norm of z0 square into z0, which is equal to inner product x comma z, where z is equal to f z0 bar divided by norm of z0 square into z0. Thus, fx is equal to inner product x comma z. If possible, let z1 not is equal to z be such that fx is equal to inner product x comma z1 for all x belongs to capital H, but fx is equal to inner product x comma z for all x belongs to H. Already we have obtained it. So, inner product x comma z1 is equal to inner product x comma z, which on simplification we get inner product x comma z minus z1 equal to 0 for all x belongs to capital H. If x is equal to z minus z1, then norm of z minus z1 square equal to 0, which implies that z is equal to z1. Now, fx is equal to inner product x comma z, which gives that modulus of fx is equal to modulus of inner product x comma z, which on Cauchy-Schwarz inequality we get modulus of inner product x comma z less or equals to norm x into norm of z. This implies that modulus of fx divided by norm of x less or equals to norm z. If we take supremum, that is supremum of x not is equal to 0 modulus of fx divided by norm of x, we see that it is less or equals to norm of z. Thus, we see that norm of f less or equals to norm z. Also, we have fx is equal to inner product x comma z for all x belongs to capital H. In particular, fz is equal to inner product z comma z, which is equal to norm of z square. So, norm of z square is equal to modulus of fz, which is less or equals to norm of f into norm of z, as f belongs to H star, and that is f is a bounded linear functional. Hence, norm of z less or equals to norm of f. So thus by the above equations we see that norm of f equal to norm of z. In this module we have proved some results on orthonormal set of vectors. We have seen the Bessel's inequality, also we have seen Parseval's equality. Also we have proved a number of important theorems, namely projection theorems, ridge representation theorem. By ridge representation theorem we can say that every Hilbert space has a self dual and every Hilbert space is reflexive. With this we now come to an end of this module 3.